Hi everybody, this is Carla, and this time I'm here to review episode 3 of the X-Files 20th anniversary revival. This episode is titled Mulder and Scully Meet the Were-Monster, and I have to say, I think this episode was the most fun I've had watching a TV show episode in a long time. I was in stitches. Oh my god, it was so funny. And just the way it all, I mean, it was kind of obvious in the end because, I knew it was going to be the animal control dude pretty early on, but still, it was so much fun. And it was just typical X-Files in the sense that, okay, Mulder sees something that turns out to be a monster, and he has absolutely no proof, and nobody who will believe him, but he believes. And that's all. It was so great. Just Mulder's trajectory through this whole thing, and it's so in canon for him to actually feel depressed by the fact that all these monsters he envisioned aren't real or have been debunked. The ice thing, that's hilarious. Meanwhile, Scully doesn't believe him, but she enjoys, watching him because it kind of makes him come alive, and she enjoys that. That's what she said. That's the Mulder I like. It was just so classic, and I loved everything about this episode. I loved pouty pouty Mulder at the beginning. Being a big child, the whole thing with the camera and how the app doesn't work, that's hilarious. It's absolutely crazy because, that happens to everybody and at the worst possible times. And then him trying to, show Scully the pictures and it's all, a leg here or maybe a glimmer of something there and, a flash or something. And Scully just kind of looks at him and goes, oh, Mulder, pet his head or something because it's cute how excited he gets about monsters and stuff. And, just all the little details. The psychiatrist, what a crook. He was so hilarious. The motel, guy who actually had, jackalope, stuffed heads that he would use to spy on people and to perv on women. That was insane. The transgendered guy who just, there's a monster coming at her, and she just slams him with her purse, and it's seriously, I thought it was so fun. And then, the fact that all the witnesses turned out to be, on drugs, not just the two at the beginning, but also the transgendered one. Hey, they thought I was on crack. Okay, are you? Yeah. It's so typical that you can't help but laugh. And that entire conversation that Mulder had with Scully, but basically he had it with himself because he knew that everything that Scully was going to say. Oh my god, that was so great. And that's the point where I started really getting into it because, again, he becomes alive when he's trying to believe in these crazy absurd things, and it's just so great to see him like that. This was Mulder's episode, man. It was it was so great. And then just Guy's entirely crazy story about how he actually is a lizard, a 6-foot biped lizard, and he turned into a man when he was bitten by a man. That is the most insane thing I've ever heard, and it's so funny, and I loved it to death. And this whole thing about how he was, being hit with all these human urges, like the urge to have coffee in the morning, or the urge to lie about his sex life. I thought that was hilarious, and I love that was the point where he actually started speaking about Scully having sex with him. That Mulder was like, okay, no, you made that up. That didn't happen. It was so, the whole thing was so hilarious. Oh my god. And I bet I bet Gillian Anderson had so much fun. So much fun just recording that scene, filming that scene. It must have been so much fun with it. Oh, you're an animal thing. That was, oh my god, this episode was, I just think about it all over again, and my eyes start watering because I'm laughing so much. It was excellent. I mean, obviously it's not the most serious of episodes, so if you went into this thing expecting them all to be like really serious and really dark and really deep and really, philosophical, this might not be an episode you like, but I love that it was so much fun. And I love that this show can have episodes that are so gut-wrenching, and at the same time have these lighter episodes that are so... I love this. This was so much fun. Yeah, okay, the makeup of the lizard, yeah, clearly they did not give much of a budget to this episode because it's mostly a filler. But I'm kind of used to it. It felt like something out of Doctor Who. So, yeah, production value not that great, but the story made up for it. I love this episode. The entire thing was just so entertaining. And really, I loved all the little details that they added, like even the fact that Guy was Australian, and it's just everything was so much fun. The dog, the fact that that Guy was like discovering that in order to, be able to deal with the fact that he was a human, what he had to do was like hang around with non-humans, which totally, I'm convinced that's why people get pets, because they can't stand, being around humans all the time, so they have to go and be with something that isn't human to feel better about their own humanity or whatever. But mostly though, I just love the whole thing with Mulder. His character arc in this episode alone was great. I mean, yeah, he's middle-aged and he's having a middle life crisis of sorts, but at the same time, I can totally see, like, even from before, you can totally see that he's the type of person who feels more alive when he's looking for something, when he has a mystery to solve. And I think Scully also saw that because, they had that one moment during their conversation when he's like, so you believe me? And she's like, of course I don't, it's absurd. But that's the Mulder she likes. That's the thing. And I think it makes complete sense. And I love how they tied it to Guy's plot line too. In the sense that Guy kind of understood that, sure, everything they're talking about is absurd, but at the same time, it kind of adds flavor to life in a way. Because if these weird things didn't exist, then their lives wouldn't be very entertaining at all. And I think that says more about Mulder than it does about Guy. I mean, Guy was a lizard, but it's interesting what it says about Mulder, because again, this is a man who's very intelligent. He's educated. He's smart. He has all the data at his disposal, and he has science at his disposal in the form of Scully as well. So this is a man who isn't ignorant. Okay, he's not just believing in these things because he's trying to explain something that's out of his reach. I mean, there are explanations. He just believes there's a possibility beyond those explanations. And for me, it's very interesting because I'm usually the Scully, like I've said this like a trillion times, but whenever it comes to these conversations, I'm usually the Scully. I'm the skeptic, generally speaking. But especially in my personal case, when it comes to religion, for example, I'm not necessarily a very religious person, but I am a true believer in freedom of religion. So, people can just believe whatever the hell they want to believe, as long as it's not hurting anybody else. just let them, right? That's kind of my position. But I've had discussions with people often about how people can believe in stuff that science has proven wrong. And that's, I think, one point that Mulder actually did have, and it was a good point he did have in this episode, is that science can't prove anything wrong, necessarily. At least not these fantastical things. They can prove, and they have mountains of evidence that it's very, very, very unlikely, but not necessarily that it doesn't happen. There's always that 0.00001% chance that it might happen. And that's what people, religious people in particular, want to, hold on to. That's just the minimum possibility that there might be something more beyond what we know. And I think, much like with Mulder, it actually, it's one of those things where, Scully, again, she doesn't believe what he believes necessarily, but she knows that it does him good to believe. And in the personal, I think religion is overall a good thing. It's people that make it a bad thing, but in its purest form, it's a good thing. It's there to help people, to give people hope. It's the same thing with Mulder and Scully right here, is that Mulder's belief in these outlandish beings, even though she doesn't share them, they give Mulder hope. They give Mulder a goal and something to look forward to and something to be excited about. And that's not a bad thing, So she doesn't treat Mulder like he's an idiot. She doesn't treat Mulder like he's an ignorant. She just thinks he believes in things that she doesn't believe in, and that's fine, as long as it does him good, and as long as it isn't hurting anybody, then let him believe, whatever. She won't look down on him for that, and it took, 7 or so seasons of the show for her to actually, come around to this idea, that you don't look down on people just because they have outlandish beliefs. And that goes for me for, if you want to believe in God, if you want to believe in fairies and leprechauns or in, mole men or whatever. It's, I might think it's a silly belief, but I don't think you're a silly person for believing it. So I think that's one good point that Mulder made, and one time when I actually, very much understand where Scully's coming from. It's like, okay, I don't believe you, but I'm glad to see you like this again, because ultimately belief is good for him. So yeah, the whole thing, I like that it was actually more philosophical than I expected from a filler. It actually did make a good point to me, and on top of that, it was hilarious, it was entertaining. So I really love this episode. I know that this is going to be one that I come back to whenever I'm feeling down. If I have a bad day or whatever, I'll just play this episode, and be like laughing all over again, because it was just so light and so funny and so entertaining, and it had you hooked. It was about people and lizards, but mostly people. So, I really, really, really enjoyed this episode, and I hope you guys did too. I know this is probably not for everybody, and a lot of people will be like, yeah, when are we getting back to the serious episode or whatever? I'm sure we will, because we only have 6 episodes to go, and they have to delve back into the mythology at some point, I'm sure. But it was nice to have just this one lighter, funnier episode that still kind of had a good message for me. So I'm all up for it. I really love this episode, and I hope everybody did as well. So that's about it for my review. As usual, be sure to visit our website at thegeekypub.com. You will find not only reviews for the previous X-Files episodes, but also for other TV shows, books, movies, games. We have a ton of stuff in there, so be sure to visit, browse around, check it out. You'll find something you like, I'm sure of it. And also remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, because that's where usually our reviews go up first. Even before they hit the website, they're up on YouTube. So if you want to be notified as soon as possible whenever we upload anything new, then subscribing is what you need to do. And I am so sorry that I just rhymed. I'm not trying to be Dr. Seuss here, I'm sorry. But yeah, that's about it from me now, and I will see you guys in my next review. Bye.